watch the morning come, statues falling one by one, nothing stays beneath the sun. Rain singing from the skies, cool the bodies, clean the eyes, wash the world into the ground.
The whole time I've done this YouTube stuff, one of the most common questions I get asked is, out of everything you could use, why do you use the Seabreeze? Which is a good question. There's so many great vehicles to choose from, each with their own strengths, weaknesses, and playstyles. With all these options available, the Seabreeze usually isn't in the discussion when it comes to aircraft with PvP in. It's definitely forgivable to overlook the civilian seaplane with guns duct taped to it and there's A-10s and F-35s in the mix, and that's okay. That said, I'm not going to come up here and claim that the Seabreeze is better than the Raijus or the B-11 or whatever, because it's not. At the end of the day, there really is no best overall aircraft. Don't get me wrong, obviously some aircraft are just undeniably better than others.
But Canuck, it's not the plane, it's the pilot.
Pilot skill, it's important, but there's a reason why people aren't out here intercepting Raijus and Cubans. The plane matters just as much. But when choosing, there's so many things to consider, and each individual person has their own unique set of preferences and values that they have in mind when deciding what's best for them. What might be the perfect aircraft for you might be completely different from the person next to you. Someone might really want something that's fast so they can intercept and quickly traverse the map, while the next person holds more value in armor. It's all in the eye of the beholder based on what they find the most fun, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, right? At least I hope so anyway. So where exactly does the Seabreeze fit into this? What makes it fun? The Seabreeze can do just about everything decently well, but it has three main categories that it does very, very well in. Skirmishing, bombing, and shenaniganism. Okay, first off, I want you to take a good look at the Seabreeze. Take a good look at the design. This is not the design of a normal airplane. I mean, look at it. It's pretty silly looking. You might even say it's a bit whimsical. But what most people don't realize is that the weird-ass design, it's a positive, not a negative. Take the Raiju for example. It's intimidating, yeah, but it's got more surface area than my forehead. It's easy to land hits on it. Contrast that to the Seabreeze and its weird-ass hitbox. Landing hits on it is a lot harder. It's a core reason why you can get away with a whole lot of sketchy shit. It's real easy to fuck with people if they can't hit you. Combine that with decent armor and countermeasures, you actually end up with a really great skirmisher that can punch way above its weight class. In dogfights, this thing is like a frickin' honey badger, just giving the business anything that looks at it sideways. It thrives in chaos. And maybe I'm just a lunatic, but the crazier the situation, the more I feel at home in the Seabreeze.
Oh, he's going for backup, huh? 2v1, 3v1, woohoo!
For offense, the Seabreeze has two weapons, bombs and machine guns. No missiles, which is a bummer, but I think it makes up for it in the fact that the Seabreeze is a very, very good bomber. I would even go as far as to say it's the best bomber in the game, period. And I don't say that lightly. The reason for this is when you drop a bomb, your forward momentum gets transferred to the bomb. So if you're flying really fast, the bombs are going to fly forward just as fast. If you're going slow, the bombs are going to fly forward just as slow. You get the idea. So if you start bombing at roughly the same speed every time, you'll learn the bomb's trajectory pretty quickly, and it all becomes second nature. The Seabreeze basically holds that stable speed for you automatically without you even having to think about it. So all you have to worry about is spotting the target so you know exactly where to place that bomb. It's so consistent and accurate that once you get good enough with the timing, you can literally hit targets from maze bank height if you know where to aim. This is JDAM level accuracy, except instead of a satellite, the only thing guiding those bombs are the voices in my head. This is not exclusive to ground targets either. These bombs are rated E for everybody. This applies to helicopters, jets, or literally anything that happens to be enemy shaped. It takes a little more practice to bomb jets, but it's totally doable. And honestly, there's no greater feeling in this game than vaporizing an annoying ass Raiju with enough ordnance to level the city block. And as I mentioned earlier, the Seabreeze, it's a seaplane. It's by far the best seaplane because it can actually use the aquatic abilities in PvP. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Tula, but if you hit the water with some velocity, bye-bye engines. The Seabreeze, it doesn't have this problem. Unless you perform an oopsie daisy and you accidentally dive in shallow water, you will take 0 damage from the water itself during any Hydro Homie shenaniganry. This opens up the door for all sorts of silly water strategies. While something like this might not turn the tide of a fight often, it's unique quirks like this that not only add a layer of depth to the vehicle in terms of strategies you can use, it just makes it more fun, and it also opens up the door for interactions outside of just killing people. I'll never miss out on a chance to chill out with people on boats or become a lifeguard if I see someone stranded. And while the fact that it's a seaplane is the most obvious, it's not the only thing that the Seabreeze has up its sleeve, ranging from small silly stuff that's funny to show off, to game changers like having the ability to eat orbital cannons for breakfast, or speed glitching around the map for mock Jesus. The Seabreeze is the undisputed master of silly shenanigans. And I mean, it looks the part, right? It's just one of those vehicles where you can't take yourself seriously in. And most people won't either, but at the end of the day, does that really matter if you're still winning fights? So yeah, the Seabreeze may not be intimidating or scary like a Raiju or B11, but that's alright. It just appeals to a different kind of playstyle. This one's for the adrenaline junkies, the close air support enjoyers, and most importantly, the silly fellers. So if that sounds like you, I'm going to show off everything there is to know about this bad boy. My hope is that regardless of your experience level, whether you're brand new or a seasoned ace, there's something new that you'll learn here today. Gotta make sure the Hydro Homies stay winning. So let's get into it.
Cutting straight to the front of the line, got my name on the list, give me room, step aside. I can show you how to have a good time, I'm that hard to forget, yeah, I'm one of a kind. Everybody trying to be somebody, ain't nobody else like me. Everybody trying to be somebody, I just wanna be like me. Be like me. Ain't nobody else like me. Be like me. Ain't nobody else like me.
And with that, let's get into the basics. So for equipping the Seabreeze, it's pretty straightforward, but there's 2 upgrades worth noting. First is countermeasures. Hands down, the best choice for countermeasures is chaff. These give you a 5-second window where you cannot be locked onto by missiles. This is pretty important for giving yourself windows of opportunity against missile slingers. And with bombs, pay very close attention, alright? You want standard bombs. The other types can be kinda goofy, but if you want to bomb someone and have them actually die, you want standard. And trust me, without missiles, bombs are the main tool in your toolbox, so it's important to use the best option available. There's a lot to go over in bombing, so it's going to have its own section later in the video. Moving on, the Seabreeze's top speed is about the same as a laser, which is fine for traversing around in free mode, but it's a bit slow compared to other common PvP aircraft. So while it's not the fastest, it's got absolutely insane acceleration, so you're taking off and reaching that top speed in seconds. The acceleration is so good that when I see people drag racing, I don't even bother getting a car anymore. I just pull up to the function in my silly water plane and smoke everybody. The other thing about acceleration is that it directly translates to climbing ability. Any vehicle with really high acceleration is basically able to maintain its top speed while completely vertical. This is how Raijus are able to basically vanish vertically. You can reach max altitude in seconds. Once you're up there, the Seabreeze has another trick in its back pocket. When you enter a dive, the Seabreeze and the Nakoda have the fastest dive speed of any aircraft in the entire game. You gain a bunch of extra speed that allows you to chase down anything trying to flee. This is how you catch Raijus. Normally you don't keep the speed for that long, but it's good enough to close the distance. But there is a glitch that I'll show later that allows you to hold that dive speed pretty much forever. In terms of maneuverability, the Seabreeze is decent, but it's not the best. It's like a slightly more maneuverable laser. It's good enough to compete in most situations, and you can make it better with proper speed control, which I'll go over. But a skilled pilot and anything better than a pyro in maneuverability is generally going to outturn you. That said, the list is more or less a reference to how well they turn in skilled hands. The average player that you're going to come across in free mode is not going to know how to get the most out of their aircraft. For example, since most Raijus you come across are just going to full throttle all the time, they're going to be closer to the bottom of the list. So more or less, the Seabreeze is maneuverable enough to where you don't have to worry about it too much until you run into a very good pilot, which is rare to find. The Seabreeze's armor is about the same as most other smugglers run aircraft: 3 homing, 3 explosive rounds, 2 railgun shots, 1 RPG. It's pretty standard, though there's a couple more things worth mentioning. Since the cockpit canopy is mostly solid at the top, the only angle people can cockpit snipe you is from the front, which makes your character nice and safe. And since the engine is kind of separated from the rest of the plane, the Seabreeze is surprisingly resistant to crash damage when majority of the damage is away from the engine, like on the wings or the bottom of the plane. It's not perfect, but it's kept me alive in crashes I really had no business surviving. And in cases where you crash and get stuck on your belly, the landing gear deploys no matter what. Most aircraft can't do this, and I'm not totally sure why the Seabreeze can, but I think it has something to do with the fact that it's a seaplane and you need to be able to transfer from water to land. But regardless, it's definitely helpful when you accidentally commit an oopsie daisy. The final thing is that the Seabreeze's elevator is indestructible. Most aircraft, when their tail gets blown off, that's it, they spiral out of control. Not with the Seabreeze. Without the tail, you'll lose rudder control, but the elevator will still work even if it gets shot off. It's definitely a bit harder to fight with no rudder, but you're never completely out of the fight until the engine is dead. The machine guns on the Seabreeze are pretty good, but it takes a bit of practice to get the hang of them. They're duct taped right in the middle of each wing, so naturally they aren't 100% accurate to where you're aiming your crosshair. They converge towards the middle, but generally the shots are going to land to the left or to the right of your crosshair. In most dogfights, this isn't the end of the world, but if you're going for anything more precise like cockpit snipes or shooting at small targets, you've got to compensate for this by focusing 1mg and adjusting your aim to the left or right of the target. For some reason the bullets themselves aren't tracers like other aircraft, but they still shred just the same. Do you remember when I said the Seabreeze only has 2 weapons? I lied. It has 3. You see this thing? You've got a built-in wood chipper right at the top that's an insta-kill for any player that touches it. If you listen very, very closely, you can actually hear it whispering to you. Okay, now look. I'm not gonna come up here and tell you to chop up pilots who have rejected, because technically that's a war crime. That said, I can't exactly stop you either, but if you do, just make sure you leave no witnesses, okay? Oh shit. Hey, come here. Come here. I just want to talk. Hey, get back here. Hey, come here. Another thing is, propellers actually have a pretty overlooked advantage over jets. I don't know if you noticed, but jet engines, they're pretty loud. These Raijus out here thinking they're all sneaky and stealthy while emitting enough noise pollution that half the map can hear them. The only reason why they're so successful is because they're approaching other jets, so they can't hear them over the sound of their own engine. This doesn't happen in propellers because you got the brrrr that you hear, okay? You can hear jet engines coming from a mile away, and you can tell how close they are and exactly which direction they're coming from. This has saved my life so many times because even if they're not on the map and I don't see them, simply hearing them is enough to start flying evasively until I do manage to spot them. So yeah, in the land of stealth aircraft and off-radar spammers, hearing them coming might just save your life. Last but not least, dodging missiles is pretty simple. You can just circle like most other aircraft to avoid them. You can also just fly away while holding your rudder, but only do this if you're a good distance from the person firing the missiles. Okay, with that stuff out of the way, on to the hydro shenanigans. I just want to say that using the water isn't just any old tactic that you can employ. It's a rite of passage for Seabreeze mains. It's a massive part of the Seabreeze's identity. It's like how stealth mode is for the Raiju, or how no-lock is for Amani-tech vehicles. No matter what you do, no matter what you manage to accomplish in the Seabreeze, you will always be flying the funny seaplane, so you might as well embrace it and get the most out of it. So how do you do that? Because depending on the situation, there's all sorts of different tactics that you can pull. The first one is pretty obvious. Unless you accidentally flip yourself, there's no real way to mess up diving in the water. That said, there are good times to do it and bad times to do it. The second you hit the water, you kill all your speed, which can be useful if you're trying to get somebody to overshoot or maybe even bait them into taking a bath. But you need to be careful because killing your speed can go just as wrong for you as it does for them. It's a risk versus reward scenario. Generally, the best time to do it is during dogfights when they aren't really in a position to take advantage of you being slow. The closer they are to you when you hit the water, the better. And whatever you do, please do not go into the water if you have missiles after you. Normally, the Seabreeze sucks ass for maneuverability in the water, But for some reason, when you go backwards, you basically turn into a jet ski. You can turn on a dime, which is pretty useful if you want to be bold and stick around in the water. With enough practice, you can juke missiles and anybody strafing you pretty easily. If done right, you can actually become really annoying to hit. The downside is that you can't quickly take off to capitalize on any opportunities that pop up. That said, if you've got friends, this could be a great way to bait people into yacht defenses or act as a distraction. It's also just really funny to sit in the water and dodge missiles and anyone trying to kill you. But if shit really hits the fan, or if somebody's trying to orb you, you can flip that bad boy upside down in the water to save yourself. It's going to kill the engine, but by doing so you take advantage of a game mechanic with how vehicles are destroyed to basically make it invincible. By flipping it upside down and killing the vehicle, the game thinks the Seabreeze is dead, so it cannot be blown up or take any more damage, but you're still in it. No matter what hits the Seabreeze, it's not going to blow up. This is a great way to counter orbital cannons. The only way you can really be killed is if someone gets a boat and shoots your character directly, so just go decently far away from shore if you can. Also avoid doing it near yachts or kasatkas because there's no waves. Without waves to bob you around, your character's head is going to be slightly underwater, so without them your character is going to drown. And believe it or not, that's not the only counter the Seabreeze has against the orbital cannon. That's right, the Seabreeze has not one, but two hard counters to the orbital cannon.
Now, you are inside one of the jet bombers. There is no roar because you are traveling faster than the speed of sound. Only the faint tone of the wind whistling by is heard, and you are looking over the shoulder of the navigator. He is wearing earphones. He hears a particular radio program.
Yeah, it flies so fast that the orbital cannon's projectile misses it, even automatic targeting. The Seabreeze's insane dive speed is what allows this to happen, so technically any Seabreeze can go fast enough to dodge an orb, but it slows down after it flattens out. The speed glitch Seabreeze does not lose that speed, it just keeps going. What causes a Seabreeze to become speed glitched is entirely dependent on how it was spawned. Alright, stop right there. So for the longest time, the way to get the speed glitch Seabreeze was basically a first spawn, which is the first Seabreeze you exit your hangar in the first session that you load into when you start the game. Problem was, that was the only Seabreeze you can get for the duration of that session, so if you lost it, you had to restart your game again to get it back. But for some reason, the geniuses at Rockstar HQ broke this with the most recent update, and any single Seabreeze that exits your hangar has the characteristics of a first spawn, which means any Seabreeze that spawned from your hangar or Grapeseed Airfield is speed glitched, which is a pretty big deal because most of the time now, you're going to be speed glitched, which means you can pretty much outrun anything at altitude. So to get it, exit the hangar and start climbing. You don't have to go all the way up, but at least halfway up to max altitude. Once you're up there, start diving at a fairly steep angle. The goal is to pick up as much speed as possible. Once you've got some speed, slowly pull out of the dive and straighten out. If you've done it right, your map should start lagging. This is because you're going incredibly fast. Keep an eye on your altitude. If you go below 1 bar of altitude from sea level, you'll start to lose your speed. So that's your hard limit for altitude. You also gotta be careful about how tightly you turn, because that's an easy way to lose speed. There's two main ways to turn while maintaining speed. The first one is purely just tapping the rudder to turn. It takes forever to turn, but this is the safest way to turn without losing your speed. This is what I do if I suspect someone's about to orb me. The second is by flipping to the side and using the elevator to turn. This lets you turn much faster, but you risk losing speed if you pull too hard. But yeah, if you lose your speed, you can just regain it by diving again. But the speed glitch is just fun to goof around in, to be honest. Show those fucking Raijus how it feels to be on the receiving end of a hit and run for once. Or you could use CEO formation to tow people around at Mach 30. Everybody's a gangster until they see a fleet of shitboxes flying towards them at unfathomable speeds. One of my favorite things to do in this speed glitch was, back in the day when orb spam was still around, I'd pull up to lobbies in a speed glitch Seabreeze where someone was orb spamming, and just dodge the shit out of like 50 fucking orbitals.
Alright, can someone orb fucking CanuckInCombat? It's going a billion miles per hour around the map. What the fuck is that? Why not?
Because that's too fast.
Seriously, even automatic.
With that out of the way, let's dive right into bombing.
Is it love to
As I mentioned earlier, bombs are generally going to be the main weapon used for most scenarios. When I'm flying around, even if I'm not in a fight, I always have my bomb bay open. The main reason for this is that I'm always ready to start dropping bombs if I get into a fight. The other reason is that you don't actually take any turbulence when your bomb bay is open, which makes flying around easier, especially during rain or snow. As for actually dropping bombs, the basics are fairly simple. Line up with your target on the map, spot them, and then drop a couple seconds before you pass over them. Personally, I like to take a look at the map and visualize where I think they are, and make any adjustments once I get close enough to spot them. I use first-person hood camera to spot people, but it's all personal preference. Though for consistency, I do recommend that you find a speed that you like, and replicate that speed whenever you're on a bombing run. I've found the most success at cruise speed, which is just natural speed the plane goes when you're not touching gas. If you're low to the ground, being too fast or too slow might not make a giant difference, but it's important to build good habits so that they become second nature for situations where it will make a difference. Generally on bombing runs, you should only use 1 or 2 so you don't waste bombs. That said, you've got 50, so don't be afraid to go crazy if the situation calls for it. If there's a lot of people in close proximity, just glass the whole block. But how do you do that? Carpet bombing seems very simple, but in my experience, it's very hit or miss. For example, if you drop a line of bombs and you're going too fast, the bombs are going to have giant gaps between them. If you're going too slow, you hit the exact same spot with 5 bombs. How the bombs are grouped is important, and it needs to be controlled to meet what you need at that moment. If you're bombing an armored target, by all means group them as tight as you can and knock that motherfucker in the next week. But if you're going for multiple people on foot, maybe spread it out a bit so that you get the most out of each bomb's blast radius. Luckily, controlling the grouping isn't even that hard either. It's all about the combination of speed and dive angle. Obviously, the faster you're going, the bigger the gaps between the bombs are going to be when they land. You can get around this by slowing down or diving at a steeper angle so that the bombs group up tighter in their arc. You can also add in some funky rudder stuff if you want it to go to the side a bit. Just mess around with it a bit and get a feel for it. As for air-to-air bombing, everything I've already said here still applies, but there's a bit more you need to take into consideration. You still have to worry about your speed, but you also have to factor in their speed as well, so you can get a rough idea of where they're going to be, so you know exactly where to place the bomb. It sounds a bit more complicated than it really is. My general rule of thumb when deciding whether to carpet bomb or not against air targets is pretty simple. If it blows up in one bomb and it also hovers, take your time with it and try to conserve bombs. If it takes more than one bomb to blow up, or it's flying fast like a plane, let it rip. That said, if something's going to kill you if you don't get rid of it quickly, do not be afraid to use as many bombs as you need to get rid of it quickly. Going back to your hangar for a refill is a lot better than trying to get back up in the air after you've been shot down. As for railguns, if there's people who can actually hit their shots with them, you can start bombing from higher up to avoid them hitting you. The highest altitude you can reliably bomb from is about 1.5–2 bars of altitude, which is higher than Maze Bank and definitely overkill for most situations. I don't expect anyone to be able to actually hit anything from that range. It's basically just the hard limit for someone who can. The reason for this is that if you go any higher, the bombs will start to fly through the map unless they direct hit a player or a vehicle. The highest I'd recommend most people bomb from is about 1 bar of altitude. This is high enough to where a railgun won't be able to hit you, but it's not so high that you can't aim effectively. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been kind of driving myself bonkers trying to get the right words to describe how to do this. I'm gonna try my best to explain it as best I can, but I just want to make it very clear that there's no substitute for practice in this sort of thing. You have to practice to get good at this. My favorite spot to practice is at those huts at the beach because you can see them from any altitude. If you want to try to get good with it, that's where I recommend you start practicing from. So generally the way I do it is I try to dive towards the target and almost line myself up like I'm trying to crash into the target itself. When I feel I have the dive angle completely perfect to line up, I drop the bomb. There's not really a whole lot to it, it's just developing muscle memory so you know exactly when to drop the bomb. That's why consistency is so important. I'm going to leave a video in the description of me just practicing my bombing with the inputs on the screen. So if you want a further idea of what I'm doing, feel free to check that out. And finally, if you're trying to bomb somebody who has explosive rounds on their sniper, my recommendation is to not do that. If there's no way around it, fly as low as you can and use the terrain to block their sight of you. Then come in as quickly as you can, drop your bomb and get the hell out of dodge. Explosive rounds are just busted as hell and there's no real way to counter them except limiting their sight on you. So that's more or less everything there is to know about bombing. Let's get into dogfighting and countering vehicles. But first, I want to run through the speed control real quick. For those who aren't aware, speed control is basically throttle and braking techniques to maximize your turning performance in a dogfight. Competitive pilots will spend years mastering this shit to squeeze every little bit of performance they can out of their aircraft. Having just a basic understanding of speed control is going to put you ahead of like 99% of the people you run across. It's a little bit different for each aircraft, but it's mostly just fighting gravity. Throttle when you're going up, brake when you're going down. For the Seabreeze specifically, imagine a turn like a vertical clock. I start full throttling at about 7 o'clock and I hold it all the way to 1 o'clock. Then I start braking as hard as I can until 5 o'clock. I let it coast again to 7 and then I start again. This is the best I've found for vertical turns. For horizontal turns, I've had a lot of success holding throttle at about 40% power. But the main takeaway is throttle when you're going up and brake when you're going down. With that out of the way, let's talk about killing Raijus. When fighting Raijus, B11s, or pretty much anything with explosive cannons, the most dangerous part of the dogfight is right at the beginning when you're face to face and they're trying their absolute hardest to hit you with their guns. If you value your life, you need to make sure that they miss. The best way to do this is by using buildings or using the terrain to block their sight of you. But if that's not an option, what I like to do is I like to fly as fast as I can and orient my dodge towards the side of the aircraft. The reason for this is pretty simple. Most aircraft mainly point their nose with their elevator, which is up and down. So if you avoid that axis entirely and go to the side, landing a hit on you is going to be a lot harder. But after you do get into a dogfight, just pepper the shit out of it until it explodes or tries some VTOL bullshit. When they go VTOL, just maneuver around it and line up for a cheeky bomb drop. If they do that hit and run bullshit, I like to climb at a slight angle while I'm chasing them and then I dive on them using that extra speed to run them down. As for the B11, I don't know what the fuck Rockstar was thinking when they made this, but it's busted. Like, the Raiju is pretty overpowered, don't get me wrong, but for the Seabreeze in particular, the B11 is public enemy number 1. So get this right, all the fighter planes in this game, all of them blow up in one bomb hit. All of them. Except the B11. For whatever reason, that fucking thing can take 5! I don't know who the fuck thought that was a good idea. On more than one occasion, I've bombed the B11 while it's taking off, and then it takes off and starts dogfighting me after I bombed it. The B11's main weakness is by getting hit with an explosion on the tail and disabling it. But that's really fucking difficult with bombs. Combine that with its armor and its coked out maneuverability and you've got a pretty big fucking problem on your hands. It's not impossible, but it's definitely a challenge. When fighting them, there's 2 big no-nos that you need to look out for. First off, at low altitude, their flight performance sucks. They can turn decently well, but they're slow. But once they get above 1 bar of altitude, they basically turn into Terminator. They get faster and become more maneuverable, so avoid fighting them at high altitude whenever you can. The other thing to look out for is kamikazes. B11s in particular will often try to ram you out of the sky because they have the armor to get away with it, so pay very close attention to their movement and react accordingly. Generally, you either want to aim for the engines or try your luck at a cockpit snipe. Either way, just take your time, you're faster than them, and you get to decide where the fight happens. And yeah, that's about everything I have to say. This has went on way longer than I thought it would. If you're still here, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. But other than that, thank you for watching, have a good day, toodles!